Our next guest tonight might be the smartest person that we've ever had on this show. Mm-hmm. That's saying a lot because we've had some smart people. He's a BYU grad that was behind the DNA boom with Ancestry.com. He's currently the president of Eddy, one of our Wise Guys sponsors. An honor to welcome Jared Price to the show for the very first time via Zoom. Jared, welcome to the Wise Guys.
Hey, Dave. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Everything's going.
Things are good. We got a bunch of questions for you. It's been it's hard to believe. It's really been the summer of so much stuff.
And it hasn't been anticipated either, has it? It's been like, whoa, that's a curveball. There's another curveball. But I would say in the balance, though, there's been way more good news for BYU this summer than bad. So much good news, and so that's good. So
Jackson on the stream from Gilbert, Arizona. We got the whole world here listening to you.
That's
tonight,
right,
Jared, because they knew you were coming on the show.
That's great.
Had nothing to do with the quarterback situation.
No,
they knew you were coming on.
They came because Jared was coming on.
So look, you're a game changer when it comes to genetic testing, which transformed Ancestry.com into a multi-billion-dollar company. So if I were to spit into a tube, what could you tell me about myself?
A whole lot. We could probably tell you all of your close ancestors back several generations. We could tell you within, the last 300, 400, 500 years, kind of, all the countries that your family came from, and maybe even some migration paths in there. Quite a bit.
Yeah, have you done it, Dave? Because I've done it.
I've used
it. Yeah.
How did you figure out all that?
How in the world? Hey, if we do this, we can do that. How did you? Yeah.
That's a very big question. Starts with just spitting in a tube, and it turns out that genetics works, and you guys get your parents' genes, and they contribute certain genes to you in certain quantities, and we can measure all that, and we can see over time kind of which genes you inherited, and run a bit of math and some advanced machine learning, and we'll spit out those results for you. It's not too bad.
That sounds simple, but it's all way above my head.
It's pretty complicated. It takes certainly several years to figure out the right algorithms to apply and all that, but we've been working on it for many, many years and gotten pretty good at it.
That's pretty cool. During your 5 years at Ancestry, you're overseeing that DNA department. They became the largest genetic testing company in the world.
Correct.
Would you ever believe that genealogy would be that popular and that lucrative when you were working on all of this?
Actually, believe it or not, yes. I'd been in the industry for a while. I had done some work after my undergraduate at Harvard Medical School, and I've been studying genetics for a while. And I did my master's thesis on genetics, and I actually wrote some of the algorithms that combine DNA sequences to give you kind of the full DNA sequence. It's called genome assembly. That's what I did my master's degree on. And so, yes, absolutely, Blaine.
All right.
And I thought we had a product that could really change the world. That's why I got really excited about it. In fact, one kind of interesting tidbit of my background, I was working on my PhD at BYU, and in about halfway through that PhD program, you get a master's degree. And while I was working on my master's degree, I'd started at AncestryDNA, and I said, look, this is the project I want to work on. I know exactly where this needs to go. And so I started interning there while I was working on my master's degree, and it was going so well, I actually had to stop the PhD. I said, I have to go do this project, and went there, and we sold 22 million of them in 5 years.
Wow.
And I'll tell you a story about how I knew it was getting absolutely huge. Is we had an engineering team that I oversaw that was in Ukraine, and we flew out there, and my cab driver in the Ukraine knew who we were, and like very legitimately. He's like, oh, you guys are the AncestryDNA guys. I've seen your videos. I've seen how you're like connecting all these families. So it was pretty big even in Europe, and it was crazy. It was utterly crazy.
Well, I think that confirms you are the smartest person to ever be on our show.
Yeah, I think so.
I doubt that. It might be Blaine. That could be Blaine. I mean, I hate to say that.
Jared, I have to tell you, I have a lot of useless information up here. Just sitting and watching all these sports for all these years, up in the booth or courtside and all that. So there's tons of useless information that can fill a lull in a game, but not anything useful that can change the world like you have.
I've traveled with him for 30 years. I can testify. There's a lot of useless information up there that I've heard. We're thrilled to have Jared Price, president of Eddy, on Wise Guys, presented by Eddy HR and payroll software built for small businesses. See how Eddy can serve your team at eddy.com. By Brady Plus, supplies plus support. Learn more at bradyplus.com.
And by Mountain America Credit Union. Apply for your BYU credit card featuring a $100 bonus at any Mountain America branch or macu.com/BYU Visa. Remember, the deadline to sign up for the BYU visas tonight. Midnight. So get it done. And let's not forget, Wise Guys distributed by the Deseret News.
So when we were teasing your appearance on the show this past week, and we said, you've got to hear this to believe it, this connection between you and one of the greatest players ever to suit up at BYU. So DNA testing isn't the first time you've done something game-changing for so many. As a young missionary, you're called to serve in Croatia, part of the native land of BYU Hall of Famer Krešimir Ćosić. He died in 1995, but in what ways does his legend live on over there?
In just absolutely unbelievable ways. Like, I remember when I first went there. So to be clear, like, serving a mission in Croatia is a wild experience. It's very much like serving a mission like in the very first days of the church. I mean, nobody really knew who we were.
Yeah.
I served a very unusual mission. I loved my mission, but it was unusual. So it wasn't that far after the war, and so most of our church houses were like riddled with bullets, and you know there were grenade holes all across the street and all kinds of things, and they hadn't had the money to really repair since the war. So my first church building, where I spent most of my time, like the plaque, like all around, like the church building was just like riddled in bullet holes. So they had been through just unbelievable horror. And, the gospel of Christ was unbelievable to those people. And Kresho, we owe everything to him. Kresho opened the country. He became the deputy ambassador of the United States. He convinced the government to allow the missionaries into Croatia in the first place. And, every person that I met in the church, they all knew him. Everybody knew him. Our district president, some of the highest leadership in the church, they were all former basketball players. Ivan Balic, I remember spending a ton of time with him, awesome guy in Zagreb and in Zadar. And, he was a basketball player, a teammate of Kresho's. And we heard Kresho stories all the time. He's a legend there, and for good reason. Much bigger heart, than he was, a big man, and he was tall. But that guy just he changed my life in significant ways. I feel a lot of gratitude to him.
After your mission, your role at BYU in 2006, you take a job teaching Croatian at the MTC, and one day you get a phone call. Yeah,
that was a wild experience. So after my mission, I taught the Croatian language for 5 years, and that's as much as you can do at the MTC. I don't know if you know how that works, but you can't do it forever. I was making $15,000 a year, right?
Right.
Something like that. So I think they give you kind of a 5-year time limit and then kick you out. And I was kind of on my last couple months, and the church called me and invited me to participate in the translation of the Book of Mormon, which was wild because, of course, Krešimir did that. Krešimir is the one who translated that along with a Catholic priest who agreed to help him. And that was just wild. It's kind of like, sometimes there's events in life that just feel like they're destined to be, and for me that was one of them. It's just unbelievable.
How satisfying is it, this group of translating the Book of Mormon in Croatian? Krešimir, Catholic priest, 2 other people, and you. What's that feel like to be in that group? That's a starting 5.
I don't know, man. It's wild. I just came to have such an appreciation for just the amount of brilliance in the Book of Mormon, for lack of a better word. It's just, when you go through it at that level and you're like, I have to get every word right. It's like, it's not even just conveying meaning. It's like every single word has to be right. You just come away from that a different person. It's just, that it's a miracle. And it was just an honor and a privilege to work on it. And I had some great people alongside me. I had, a native Croatian that was translating, and I was kind of representing the English language side on that project. And then we had a member from the church translation department, and the three of us would meet every couple of days and do another chapter or two, and yeah, it was amazing. It's awesome.
Jared Price, president of Eddy, is on the Wise Guys Tonight live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Let's go back to March 4th, 2006, before you started the project. You're at the Marriott Center the night BYU retires Kresimir's number 11 jersey. His family's on hand. You're already tied to him because of the mission.
Yeah.
And then you go on to join him as a translator of the Book of Mormon in his native language. Like, could you ever imagine to that? And what did you think about that?
It was just awesome. Took the family, took a bunch of friends from the mission, and obviously attended that in person. And it was just an amazing experience. His wife was there, kids were there. Anna gave a just beautiful tribute. There was a wonderful tribute video. I believe President Monson as well spoke at that. And no, it's just beautiful. His story is just it's just insane. He comes over to BYU. He's taught by Hugh Nibley essentially. And other great BYU scholars. And there's that famous quip he gives of like, there are 100 reasons I shouldn't join the church, except there's one reason I should, and that's that it's true. Right?
Yeah.
So he goes through with it and joins. And the thing about him is he was such an incredible missionary. Like, I don't think the church in Croatia really would have, been stood up at all without him. All of the early members of the church were like basketball teammates and other people that, Kresho was such a just nice, big-hearted, generous guy. He couldn't help but talk about it. It changed his life and helped him out. And so in just the perfect spirit of missionary work, he just shared what he loved with his friends, and his friends were touched by that. And anyway, it was an awesome night, absolutely awesome night. See his number retired, very deservedly so. One of the greatest basketball players of all time.
So for Cougar Nation, which is around the world, if you get a hold of a Book of Mormon in Croatian, you'll see Jared's name in there somewhere. It won't be next to the three witnesses, but it's on one of those pages, right?
Yeah, silent credit in there somewhere.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, our friend Travis Hansen convinces you to leave Ancestry to join Eddy in 2018 to try and make life easier for entrepreneurs and business owners as you shift from DNA to really a different part of DNA is how business works. How does Eddy do that?
Man, so many ways. Like I always tell people, the way to learn about Eddy is just start high level. So what Eddy's going to do is it's going to help you run a more efficient company. It's going to help you be more profitable. It's going to help you build a better culture. It's a company around helping entrepreneurs. That's really what it is. And then, as you delve into each layer, you'll learn more and more that Eddy can do for you. We laugh internally because we have so many customers that still, a year later, a year and a half later, wow, I learned this new thing that Eddy can do. I didn't know Eddy did that, The way we think about it is, we just want to help people build great companies. Like that's the way we think about it. You guys know Travis, you know how entrepreneurial he is.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole team's kind of like that. It's like the thing that gets us motivated is we just want to light a fire and help entrepreneurs do what they want to do. And so we handle payroll, benefits, insurance, time off tracking, clock in, clock out, and a million other things, compliance, all kinds of things. And we do that through a combination of both software and services. We always say, we're a little bit, biased, obviously, but we think we have one of the, best technical teams in the whole world on this project. We're the team largely, at least several of us, that, built that AncestryDNA product. And, we know how to build consumer software at scale, consumer software that's easy to use.
Yeah.
And what we saw early on is just, man, this business software is terrible. I mean, Travis had founded 5 different companies, and he's like, I can't operate, one of them, let alone 5 of them well, And so we needed something that was like, how do we just make this massively easier? And that's really what Eddy was born out of. And then the one other thing I would mention just about Eddy's founding is, one of Travis's mentors really early on had told him that business is the most charitable thing you can do. And that really hit Travis hard. It hit me hard when we talked about it when we were first talking about starting this company.
Yeah.
And it's, if you have a business, it's self-perpetuating. If it's truly like a profitable business, and it does good in the world and it helps people. It's kind of a self-perpetuating way of blessing people's lives. And so really for us, it's about that. Like, how do we help somebody who wants to start a business be successful? And how do we make it easier for them? That's what it's all about.
Nice.
Yeah, we this thing, when Dave and I and Jack, who's our executive producer and partner, decided to do this, we're just like, you know what we want to do? We want to shine a light on people that are doing positive things that have ties to BYU. Not just a sports podcast, but, you know, let's shine a light on good things, all good things BYU. And that's why we're pumped that you guys are a title sponsor, because that's what you're doing. So Wise Guys is, you know, this combination is really good for us, and we feel goodness at so many levels as we interact with you, and you guys are doing great things. So not only are you a sponsor, but we get to shine a light on people that are doing great things, and you guys are doing that.
Thanks, really appreciate that.
All right, now are you ready for 5 questions? This is the grand moment. Jared Price on the Wise Guys tonight, presented by Eddy, Brady Plus, Mountain America Credit Union, distributed by the Deseret News. Before we get to that, here's a football question to set the tone.
Oh, yeah.
So your last 3 undergraduate years at BYU, football team goes 32-7. John Beck, Max Hall, quarterback while you're there. How much fun was that? You rarely left feeling bad because you lost.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. I remember, you know, that play where I believe it was Max Hall who, I think it was against Utah, hits that like that turnaround touchdown pass right at the end of the game. Like, that was unbelievable.
It was a great time. That's a couple of great quarterbacks. So
yeah,
great quarterbacks mean lots of wins.
So 5 questions for Jared are presented by Strategy Square. Boost your company's social media presence with Chantal, a BYU grad who can be found at strategysquare.co. Here's where we turn the tables and find out more about you.
Yeah, this is how people know who you really are, okay? And you can't really think about it like, Jared, I want the first thing that comes into your head, Jared. Okay?
And look, somebody on the stream, Adam, says no one loves customers more than Jared. So I believe your coworkers are locked into this show.
I don't know,
tonight.
maybe that's a company they work with.
Well,
Adam Smeltzer says no one loves customers more than Jared. So
if anybody does, it's Adam.
there you go. Okay, we're going to start with this. Your favorite sports movie?
Oh, geez, probably Rudy. You know, I'm all of 5'7", so you got to see a little guy get out there and win.
So hey, I still get teary-eyed every time I watch Rudy. So, you know, first of all, the music's so good when he just keeps coming back and he's not on the roster and he's sitting out by the lake there. And Dave and I have been to Notre Dame to do a game. And
we were with Rudy.
Yeah, we were with Rudy. He came out and the fans still remembered him. When he came out of the end and walked in, you know, the real Rudy, and people start going, Rudy. I gave me chills. It was pretty awesome. You know, that's a great one. Okay, your favorite singer or band?
Oh, geez. It's actually Ben Rector. Have you ever heard about a guy named Ben Rector?
Yeah, I have heard of Ben
Feels
Rector.
like we have.
He actually played at BYU one time at the Marriott Center. That's where I actually was introduced to him. Anyway, he's awesome. You should get to know him.
Yeah, I've heard of Ben. We've had some of our athletes come on and give us bands. I was like, I've never heard of that. I have to go look up. But I always do go look it up. But I have heard of Ben Rector. So
Okay, all right.
Great. Okay, this is a really important one. Your favorite breakfast cereal?
I'm gonna go Apple Jacks.
All right, that's classic.
You know what? There's Apple
It's
Jacks.
got apple in there, so you can almost kind of act like it's healthy. You know it's not. I mean, you know it's full of sugar.
What? Are you kidding?
Well, I'm gonna tell you somebody whose favorite cereal is Apple Jacks. The late great Danny Plater.
Danny Plater, I love that.
That was so. He always came to our house on Sunday for a snack in the afternoon. He'd kind of wander the neighborhood and come by. And he had his own container of Apple Jacks up in our cupboard and his own thing of milk in our fridge. He would go into the cupboard, get a spoon out in a bowl, and have a bowl of Apple Jacks. So and he was a phenomenal wide receiver for BYU.
Hey, do you remember the song? Do you remember the jingle?
The Apple Jacks one?
A is for Apple, J is for Jacks, cinnamon
J
toasted
is
Apple Jacks.
Cinnamon toasty, that's where it's at.
Come on, Jared, you're not that young. You should know that.
I'm just going to say I'm younger than you guys. I did not remember the jingle.
Apple Jacks is a fine cereal. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Your favorite BYU moment?
Oh, man, there's so many. Okay, I'm going to go back to this one. It was way back. So when I was 11 years old, I believe it was 1990, Ty Detmer beat Miami, #1 Miami at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. I was at that game. My dad took me to that game, and I still vividly remember, probably one of my earliest memories, me and my brothers and my dad just storming the field going crazy. I mean, Miami felt like they were just unbeatable, right? It seems like they won the national championship every year back then. So that was awesome. That game was
so what do you learn about your dad when you're 11 and he's storming the field with you?
That he's awesome. Likes to have a good time. He's competitive, likes sports. Those are good things. As a boy growing up, you want that.
Absolutely.
I still contend, Jared, that's the best team BYU's ever beaten. Because
it was unbelievable.
They played some pretty good teams, but they played some teams I'm not gonna lie. In '84 we go back and we beat number 2 Pittsburgh on the road, but they kind of fell off that year, and that's happened a few times with teams. But that Miami team went and finished in the top 10, won another national championship. Like, that was a very good football team with a whole team full of NFL draft picks, and BYU punked them at home.
Yeah,
that was a great game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was fun.
I think that game really probably set the stage for Ty winning the Heisman. I think like, that game just was like, whoa, that was an unbelievable performance.
Yeah, it looked like he had eyes in the back of his head that game. He was so good. So,
all right, here comes number 5.
Now this one is like, maybe this is the most important one, because how you answer, you got to be careful. So, what's the favorite advice that your wife Stacy's ever given you?
You guys are all coming up stuff that's gonna make me emotional. Honestly, I'll tell you. I'm going to give you a little longer answer to this one a little bit.
It's all good. Yeah.
One of the reasons I married Stacy is because when I first met her, I just knew how kind she was, and not only kindness, but especially kindness to those who were like suffering. Like, she would talk about, people that she visited in the hospital and just how she wanted to take those things away from them. She's always had a really soft heart for people that are going through hard things. And so I think that's the best advice she's ever given me, is just to love those who really need it, who are having hard times, and be there for them.
That is good.
Good advice. That's advice for everybody listening tonight. Hey, Jared, we're proud to have Eddy as a title sponsor of the Wise Guys, and we understand that you met our next guest, who will join us in a few minutes. John, by the way, when you were 9 years old, this is kind of like a walk back in time. First you're 11 storming the field, and now you're 9 when you meet John. How did that meet and greet go?
Yeah. So I knew he was going to become famous for his humor because, like, my dad, he probably won't even remember this, but maybe he will. You might ask him. So my dad is Dan Price, and he was in the bishopric, the student bishopric of John By-the-Way's ward. Oh. And he was hilarious back then. So I'd go to some of those activities, and that guy would crack me up all the time. I'm like, that guy's going to write books. He's going to be famous. He's going to be funny. He's going to and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So
it's good stuff.
Tonight he's going to give us his 5 favorite pieces of advice.
Yeah.
From all that stuff that he's got going on.
Yeah. That'll be worth hanging on to listen for.
Okay.
Hey, we welcome you to the family here with Wise Guys and with Eddy. We salute you on helping translate the Book of Mormon into Croatian and link together with Krešimir Ćosić like no other BYU fan we know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's a unique one. No one's going to steal that one.
No. Hey, did you spend most of your time in Zagreb, or did you get down to Dubrovnik and Split and some of those?
So, yeah, one kind of interesting tidbit of my mission is I spent most of my mission, about half my mission actually, as the branch president because the church is so small there.
Oh, wow.
So I was the branch president in Split. I was the branch president in Osijek, which is kind of on the eastern side. Mm-hmm. And then I spent some time in Zagreb as well.
Very nice. Like we were over in Croatia last summer, the summer before, and went all over and absolutely loved the people, and it's one of the best kept secrets. Dubrovnik was fascinating to me too. Like, I just couldn't believe that city. I felt like it was in the medieval times, but it's such a beautiful city. Yeah, what a great place and what great people.
It's just gorgeous. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed when you're out there, but you can stand on the beach and you can basically see the bottom of the water on those coastlines.
It's so clear. We leased a I guess a yacht is what we leased, a whole group of us, and we went out to the islands, and we'd pull into an uninhabited island in the cove and just swim off the back deck, and it's beautiful. It's an absolutely gorgeous place, and all those coastal cities it has this real maritime feel, almost like Maine does in the United States. Yeah, we loved it, and the people there were very gracious and very kind, and they were nice. They thought people from the United States were cool, which I thought was great too.
That's good.
They're by nature extremely friendly.
Yeah. What a great place to serve and really open up a country. That's awesome. So thanks for being with us tonight, Jared. It was great to have you on.
Thanks, Dave and Blaine. It was a pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Jared Price, president of Eddy